javelin, what happens next? He throws it near him. What does he want to do? What is in his heart? What does he want to do? Yeah, absolutely. He wants to throw that rock right in that kid's face. But he doesn't. He throws it near him. Let's look at this passage, page 62. The subsoil beneath the palm trees was a raised beach, and generations of palms had worked loose in this the stones that had lain on the sands of another shore. Roger stooped, picked up a stone, aimed, and threw it at Henry. Threw it to miss. The stone, that token of preposterous time, bounced 5 yards to Henry's right and fell in the water. Roger gathered a handful of stones and began to throw them. Yet there was a space round Henry, perhaps 6 yards in diameter, into which he dare not throw. Here, invisible yet strong, was the taboo of the old life. Round the squatting child was the protection of parents and school and policemen and the law. Roger's arm was conditioned by a civilization that knew nothing of him and was in ruins. Why is the civilization in ruins? Why is the civilization apart from them in ruins?
You mean like little? Because they dropped them.
Yes, because of the nuclear war. Yeah, the world around them is trash because of the nuclear war. All right, so you've got this diameter, and Henry's right here in the middle of it. And all around it, Roger is throwing these stones all around Henry. He doesn't throw it at Henry, but just right there. Everywhere around him, he's throwing these stones. What does it say specifically is keeping him from throwing that stone at Henry? Look at the text. It's page 62. You can use your own words. Authority. The conditioning of the old life. The conditioning of the old life. He's been conditioned, his arm has been conditioned not to do this. But we just said he wants to throw the stone at Henry. That is his desire. As they live longer and longer and longer on this island, what is Roger eventually going to realize? He can't get in trouble for it. He's eventually going to realize that, oh, these conditioning factors and influencers that have conditioned his arm to not throw the stone at Henry aren't there. There's nothing that they can do to him. See, Roger represents a certain type of human. He represents a certain impulse within the human heart. Do you know a Roger? Do you know a Roger? Why does he want to throw? Man, dude, I remember back when I was a kid, and this was during the summertime, and me and my buddies found a turtle. Well, this was after the 4th of July, and we had leftover firecrackers. I won't give you the details, but we did it, and I still think about that. 20 years later, I still think about that.
It's a real killer.
Why'd we do that?
We?
Me and my buddies. Why'd we do that? It's because we're sick and twisted and evil. That's the answer. That's the answer. When you walk into the bathrooms and you see the abject chaos in the bathroom over here, even worse than the freshman hall, a mirror shattered, the soap dispensers slammed off the wall, the toilets, Bubba grabs his dip out of his lip, and it's so weird. Like, instead of spitting it into the toilet, he lowers the toilet seat and sprinkles it all around. You've seen it. You've seen it. Like, it's true. It's true that some men just want to watch the world burn. This is true. Why does Roger want to throw the stone at Henry? Because he can. Because it's there. We're going to identify Roger on the spectrum, but understand that we have certain individuals and certain impulses in the human heart and certain individuals in any institution, in any world, in this school. And the reason why they do good, or at least do no harm, is because the consequences are there. See, for most of us, we want to do good things and be good people because we don't want to be antisocial pieces of crap who are ostracized from the community. But aren't there some personalities that you can't teach? You can't change their heart. They can only be contained and slightly controlled. I want you to imagine what would happen at this school if the consequences simply vanished. Think about that for a minute. Think about if the consequences and the controlling factors simply vanished. I guarantee you. Think about, in terms of post-apocalyptic literature, I want you to think about one of your favorite shows, The Walking Dead. Once these mitigating factors of society have fallen apart, there are certain violent personalities who it's almost like they were just waiting for this cataclysm to happen so that they could rise up and be who they wanted to be all along. Does that make sense to you? Their true self could come out. The evil pieces of crap that they've always been have finally been allowed to run amok because authority, the controlling influences of civilization have vanished. And Roger comes out. So, here's the grand irony. Golding is saying that it takes society, government. Notice he uses teachers and policemen as these controlling mitigators of Roger's arm. These are both government entities. As much as I hate to admit it, I work for the government. Believe me, I say that with a great degree of self-loathing. So Golding is saying that it takes government to control people like Henry, to control the impulse that Roger represents in the human heart. Here's the grand irony, though. So it takes government to control violence, right? Who's waging the war in the background of this novel? Governments. Do you see the paradox? Do you see the tension? Every time somebody says, oh, it takes a government, every time I say it takes government to control these violent people in the bathroom, it takes the forces of government and authority to keep us all safe. But who wages war, man? Who's responsible for the most deaths throughout human history? Governments. Government might keep keep one neighbor from murdering the other. It might keep it at an individual level, maintain peace at an individual level. But at a macro level, they wage war against each other and it leads to the death of millions. Who perpetuates genocides? Is it individuals? No, it's committees through the coercive powers of government. So Golding's statement here is ambiguous. Yes, let us say that it takes policemen and teachers to control Roger, to keep Roger from throwing the stone at Henry. But remember, you zoom out, and who's waging the war in the background of this novel? Who is committing murder on massive scales? These same mitigating forces that are controlling Roger's arm. All right, let's move on. Then something bad happens. So they're yada yada yadaing, and what do they see? They're chilling on the island, and what do they see? They see a ship. They see a ship in the distance with a little smokestack. They see a ship. This is a good thing. They're going to see their smoke signal. They're going to be happy. They're going to get rescued. But what's the issue? Somebody let the fire go out. Who let the fire go out? Dadgummit, Jack. You had one job. What was he off doing? Hunting. Let's go to that scene. Can you imagine, though, how long do you think they've been marooned on this island? A hot minute. It says their hair's gotten long. Guys, they've been on the island for a better part of a year. Now let's think about this for a minute. You've had nothing to eat but fruit. You have chronic stomach aches and perpetual diarrhea. Y'all ever been in the, we're hill people. We are hill people living in Appalachia here. You ever been to the beach a little too long? Sand gets where it's not supposed to get?
Yeah.
No, not you? Never?
I did see.
Never spent too long on the beach and got a little sand chafage? Never? It's amazing. Have you ever been to the beach? Wow, it's amazing. Sand chafage, diarrhea, stomach aches. And keep in mind, these are limey British school children. They're white and pasty. They're burned up. You don't tan, though. You just burn and peel. You've had no meat. You don't have a cell phone. And here's the worst part about it, y'all. You ever try to sleep when it's hot and muggy?
I like it.
So, you've been on the island for this long. You're miserable. All of a sudden, a ship passes by and you think, oh my God, at last, we're going to get off this island. And you look up and where the smoke signal is, there is none. How pissed are you? Yeah, yeah. Let's get on. So they go running. They go running. He says, they let the bloody fire go out. Ralph is on his knees screaming at this ship as it sails off. Come back, come back, come back on page 68. And just as he is in the depth of his agony, who saunters in to the scene? Old Jack. Old Jack with the pig. He got him a pig, finally. Look, we've killed a pig. We stole up on him. We got in a circle. Etc., etc., etc. Jack had too many things to tell Ralph at once. Instead, he danced a step or two, then remembered his dignity and stood still, grinning. He noticed blood on his hands and grimaced distastefully, looked for something on which to clean them, then wiped them on his shorts and laughed. Ralph spoke. You let the fire go out. Jack checked, vaguely irritated by this irrelevance, but too happy to let it worry him. We can light it again. You should have been with us, Ralph. We had a smashing time. The twins got knocked over. We hit the pig. I fell on top. I cut the pig's throat, said Jack proudly, and yet twitched as he said it. Can I borrow yours, Ralph, to make a nick in the hilt? The boys chattered and danced. The twins continued to grin. There was lashings of blood, said Jack, laughing and shuddering. You should have seen it, etc., etc. You let the fire go out. This repetition made Jack uneasy. He looked at the twins, then back at Ralph. We had to have them for the hunt. But there wouldn't have been enough for a ring. He flushed, conscious of a fault. The fire's only been out an hour or two. We can light up again. Etc., etc., etc. Then finally, Ralph says it on page 70. There was a ship! There was a ship, you frigging idiot! Jack, faced at once with too many awful implications, ducked away from him. He laid a hand on the pig and drew his knife. Ralph brought his arm down, fist clenched, and his voice shook. There was a ship out there! You said you'd keep the fire and you let it go out! He took a step toward Jack. He turned and faced him. They might have seen us. We might have gone home. This was too bitter for Piggy, who forgot his timidity and the agony of his loss. He began to cry out shrilly, "You and your blood, Jack Marridew, you and your hunting. We might have gone home." Is Jack apologizing?
No.
Is Jack even concerned about this? What is Jack concerned with? He stuck him a pig. He stuck a pig. Again, Ralph just trails off and just screams at the sky. There was a ship. Jack stood up as he said this, the bloodied knife in his hand. The two boys faced each other. There was the brilliant world of hunting, tactics, fierce exhilaration, skill. And there was the world of longing and baffled common sense. Jack transferred the knife to his left hand and smudged blood over his forehead as he pushed down the plastered hair. Now understand what Golding is saying here. What we have here is Jack as the Nietzschean. That's a word, ain't it? Jack as the Nietzschean. Anybody know who Friedrich Nietzsche is? An old Austrian philosopher. Basically, his argument was this. By looking to the next world and looking to, whether religiously or platonically, transcend this life, we never fully engage living. By perpetually looking towards the next life or a higher state of transcendence, we fail to engage this life and do not live fully. Now we know that the island is a microcosm for the world. And these personalities on the island represent different aspects of humanity, which we'll get to in a moment. But before we're too critical of Jack, understand that if the island is a microcosm for humanity, and Ralph and Piggy and the rest of them, what are they trying to do? What's Ralph trying to do? Leave. He's trying to get off the island. He's trying to escape the world. He's looking to the next world. He is not in